Hi, everybody. Hello. Nice to see you all here. My name is Lauren Severe. Thank you for joining me tonight for our editing live stream event. This is actually a requested stream from the Right Mama, Jenny Graham, in conjunction with her event, the Creative Kickstart campaign for 2021. And basically, I did an editing stream not too long ago where I went over like cover copies and stuff, and we had a ton of fun. And so Jenny requested that I do this stream as part of her event, and I'm really excited to do that today. For anybody who's going to be watching this on replay, thank you for joining, and I hope you find this informative. If you don't find your question answered or discussed during the live stream, then make sure that you go to the description box down below. All my things are there. You can reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to help. My name is Lauren Severe. I'm an author, YouTuber, and mom from down home Louisiana. And on my channel, we talk about writing books, reading books, editing books, selling books, everything in between, usually with a glass of wine in hand. So today for me it's a weeknight. It's a Tuesday night. And I actually work full-time in cardiology in the middle of a global pandemic. So this stream is only going to be 2 hours long. We're going to actually have like an end time, whereas on weekends or days whenever my husband's home and can watch the baby, we can kind of go until, everything sort of peters out. But today we are going to have an end time. Few ground rules for the stream before we get going is that if we have a lot of people who join in and a lot of the same question comes up, then my friend Abby will be in the chat moderating, and she may say that the question's already been answered for the sake of time. But a lot of times we don't have issues with that. But just in case you have somebody named Abby answering questions in the chat, she's doing that for me so that I can try and get to everybody's questions and help this be a really fun, productive stream. Anyway, usually at this point, at the beginning of the stream, we're kind of waiting for people to arrive, to get notified that I've gone live, to show up, all of that. And so kind of, before we get really into the middle of everything, I just kind of want to go over a few different things, such as if you want to send me your cover copy, your author blurb, your elevator pitch, anything like that, you can send it to my email. That is always open, you guys. Let's see. I have it here somewhere. So this is my email in case anybody wants to send me something so that I can help you with editing, any editing questions you have. Make sure that you're introducing yourself in the comments. Abby has introduced herself. Hi, that's me. Her pretty face right there. And Dal is here. Thank you for showing up, Dal. She's here with food, so slow chat, but she's here. Let's see here. And Kelly wants food. I do too, Kelly. I do too. Just ate, still want more food. That's the thing. I can send you the blurb for my query letter. You absolutely can, Dal. I'd be more than happy to look over it. Hi, Kelly. Am I saying hi in the chat? Let me pull that email back up. So anybody who wants to send me something that they'd like me to take a look at during the stream for live edits during the live edit portion, you're more than welcome to email that to me. Or if you have questions that aren't covered during the stream as far as any of the editing stuff goes, you're more than welcome to send them to me to my email or any of my socials. I have my link tree in the description box down below. I'm also being reminded that I need to plug myself a little bit. So, if you could like the stream, that would be great. Share with your friends. That would be awesome. Anyway, I'm really glad to have you all here. So there are a couple of things that I wanted to do today. The last editing stream that I did was actually really specific. It was about cover copies or author blurbs or back cover copies, whatever you call them. And those are the summaries that are on the back of your book or in your Amazon feed. And it was about how it's a marketing technique, but it also needs to be edited in a way that's going to help grab readers to help convert to sales. And so that was something that we focused on last time. This time I kind of wanted to open it up a little bit more. I didn't want to talk about the same things during the editing stream. So there were a couple of different things that I definitely wanted to cover today. One of them being a few of the questions that I get a lot. Actually, I wrote notes. So if I look down, it's because like I wrote notes. I didn't want to be totally scatterbrained since I only have 2 hours tonight. One of the things that I get asked a lot is about the different types of editing and kind of like what they mean, what you should expect, stuff like that. So let's talk about you've written your book, zero draft or first draft or whatever. The first type of editing that you could expect to be looking for after you have written 1 or 2 drafts of your work is a developmental or substantive editing or editor. These are usually the most expensive editors. And this is the type of editing that I do through my website. This is going to be like, if you're talking about like big picture, it's the big picture, it's the macro edit. So they read your entire book and they basically look at everything from a story structure standpoint. They make sure that you have all the elements to make a great story. They're looking at plot, dialogue, theme, just a lot of really big picture things to see if there are plot threads that aren't really reading, right for readers, and maybe you should consider taking them out. Or they're going to be kind of the ones to tell you, hey, I think your theme is more this than this, and so you should lean into this. Or this character doesn't really make a lot of sense, in the narrative scope, and so they're going to tell you a lot of the big ticket items, the big rewrites, the big things to do. This is really useful, I think, for anyone to get your manuscript where it needs to be. But this is also something that you should definitely consider if you're writing the first book in a series, because a lot of times a developmental editor or a substantive editor, what they do is they can actually help you like set up the arcs for your entire series throughout the course of helping you with the developmental edits for the first book. So that's definitely something. Oh, hi, the right mama. You missed my shout out to you at the very beginning. Hi. I'm keeping you in the background as I get these gremlins to bed and make dinner and gain knowledge. Haha. Yeah, I totally understand that. My toddler, Anta liked this stream. She's so sweet. My toddler got into this habit where like it was like we had like a little party or something that he got a present every day recently for the Christmas holidays. So by the time like Christmas was over, he was waking up looking for presents, and I was like, Christmas is over. You don't get any more presents. Calm down, son. So that was kind of funny. But I totally understand the hecticness of bedtime. That's why I had to start this at like 8 o'clock when I knew he would be in bed. So anyway, so developmental editing, substantive editing, those are the big picture things. A lot of developmental editors will even put on their website, whenever you're looking into them, that they're not going to be giving you notes on like a line level, meaning sentence structure, repetitive words, stronger word choices, comma splice errors, grammatical errors, things like that. They're not looking at those little things. They're looking for the big picture things to help you really refine and get a really concise narrative and make sure that your voice and the theme of your book is really, really resonating. So that is going to be the biggest type of editing. It's also the most expensive because it is the most intensive. You are looking at things beyond just sentence structure whenever you're looking at people's work on that level. You really have to kind of make sure that you're helping them frame their story in such a way that readers are going to love it, but it's still true to who they are. And that's incredibly hard to do without a ton of research. Usually editors charge by the word. So that is something. After the developmental or substantive editors, after that comes copy or line editors. That is going to be on a more line level. It's a little less expensive, but that is definitely, that's a lot of the grammatical errors, pronoun confusions, long loose sentence structures versus comma splices versus, you know, just adding commas willy-nilly as I have done before, which I'm just like, that's not even a comma splice. That's just a comma for the comma sake. Anyone else have that problem? You just love commas? Anyway, so that's going to be the next level of edits, is copy or line editing, which basically that means your story is really solid. You know who the characters are. You're grounded in their motivations. The plot is solid. All of the elements are solid. You have all the elements to make a great story. And then this is really just like tightening up that narrative, getting rid of filler words and adverbs that aren't necessary. Not all adverbs though, but adverbs that aren't necessary. You know, they're going to make sure all your dialogue tags are really formatted well, that all of your sentences just look beautiful and wonderful and all of that. And so that is what a copy or line editor does. Then you have, after that, an even more technical form of editing, a proofreader. And this person really, really will get on you about your commas. This is the person who like will find every single mistake in your book and make sure that it goes away, or that you're aware of it so that you can make it go away. That's kind of the last form of editing that you're going to go through before publication. Then you have formatters, who they aren't doing anything as far as like helping your manuscript, like the content of your manuscript. They're just helping it look pretty. And that also has value, because that means that a lot of times like readers will see certain things differently. Like if the font is not right, you know, it'll be harder to read. If it's more compact text, it's harder to read. So formatters are really important for that as well. Okay, so those are those types of editors. Now, for those of you who are going to consider traditionally publishing, there's another type of editor that you need to be aware of. And this is an acquisitions editor. The acquisitions editor is going to be the one that you're going to be dealing with if you want to traditionally publish your work. They're reading queries. They're seeing if something is viable for sale. They're helping get it ready for sale. They work with traditional publishers, etc., etc. I basically queried Lauren as if she were a literary agent. I love that. I love that so much. Bucket list moment. Let me pull that up really quick. Now that I actually somewhat know how to do this. Last time it was a hot mess. I mean, like a hot mess. Oh, she really did. She said, "Dear Lauren Severe, it's a letter to me." I love it. So I don't do a ton of query editing. I'm going to be honest about that. The blurb part I can help with, but the query editing, probably not as much. So let me just get this. Shared real quick. I'm squinting because I'm an old person who needs her glasses and does not have them. Okay, we're gonna do this one. All right, let me make sure we can see everything good. Oh, yeah, we can. Okay, so dear Lauren Severe, that's me. I'm querying you because I know you appreciate multi-POV stories with strong characters and climate change discussions. That is accurate, as like accurate AF. If I were an agent, done. You've got me. That is so good. The Weaving Spider and Moth is an own voices sci-fi with paranormal elements. The manuscript is completed at 88,000 words. Okay. It's a standalone with series potential that could be compared to All the Light We Cannot See, set in space. I love this query so far. Tibor. Okay, so here's sort of the cover copy part of the query letter. Tibor was born and raised in isolation aboard the New International Space Station. His dream is going to Earth to see all its natural wonders. But first, he wants to be the best astral spy his adoptive father's ever seen. Okay. All is good until Tibor is put in charge of testing those new recruits from Earth. Let me just, as I'm reading it, I'm just going to highlight certain things to go back to. His ability to induce nightmares starts the rumor of him being the first traveler born in a space lab, and the kids mock him as less than human. Just highlight a couple of points here. Things take the worst turn. Let me do this. Just want to let you know this is really good. I'm just making sure to highlight a few things to make sure I kind of go back and touch on some points for you. Things take the worst turn when his adoptive father reveals his real intentions, training Tibor to become an astral assassin. That's awesome. Between dreams and reality, his father's approval is at risk. Then a new task, a non-modified girl with unknown talents has been missing for years. He must find her. With the guidance of new friends, he eventually meets his equal. But is this person a new friend or his next victim? That's a really great line. We need to move that up. Just saying, really strong there. From singer-songwriter to expat student to bilingual interpreter, and now working as an assistant for a new indie publishing house, I'm an aspiring author who so happens to be partially blind. I have self-published a couple of short stories and poems, growing my author platform, and I'm serious about a long-term writing career. Please find the sample chapters below. Thank you in advance for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Dal Cecile Runo. Love you. Gosh, Dal, if I was an agent, I would totally ask for at least a partial. Okay, so I highlighted a couple of things because this is sort of the blurb part. This is the sale part of the query. Now, again, I am not a query expert. I'm not going to claim that. I do a lot of cover copy stuff because I'm a self-published author, and because I've been doing developmental edits, cover copies, etc. since 2012. But because I'm not a traditionally published author, some of this advice, I'm going to blanket and say I'm not 100% an expert in this field. Okay. I like that you start with Tibor, and I like that his name is in all caps here, because that makes us understand immediately like who the main character is. And I think that that's a good formatting choice, especially for the way that you have like the comp and the title and everything in all caps. I think that that's really a good delineation as far as formatting goes, which I know is something that you may struggle with since you are visually impaired. So I do think that that's a good choice as far as that goes. And then, so we go to, so Tibor's motivations get a little bit muddled in this blurb. So that's one thing that I'm struggling with. So Tibor was born and raised in isolation aboard New International Space Station. His dream is going to Earth to see all its natural wonders. But first, he wants to be the best astral spy his adoptive father's ever seen, right? So we see his dream is, I want to go to Earth, but I want to make my dad happy more, right? That's his motivation. Then kind of like here, all is good. And then he's put in charge of testing. And then it says those new recruits from Earth. I think that probably needs to be new recruits from Earth and just take out those altogether. Those is a little bit distancing. It distances Tibor from the other recruits in a way that I think is a little bit off-putting for somebody reading that, almost as if he doesn't view himself as part of a community at all, which is a little bit strange, because we want to care about who he is in the context of the world and in the context of the story. So he's put in charge of testing new recruits, right? He's like their superior, so he's a part of this hierarchy or community or whatever's happening. So all is good until Tibor is put in charge of testing new recruits from Earth. His ability to induce nightmares starts the rumor of him being the first traveler born in a space lab, and the kids mock him as less than human. So immediately, this last part of the sentence, and the kids mock him as less than human, what I'm seeing here is like that kids are mocking him as less than human. So is he less than human? And is he a child? Like, this immediately makes me think, okay, well, how old is Tibor? Like, if the kids are mocking him as less than human and he's a fully grown man, like, why does he care what 6-year-olds think? Like, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, let's see. We've got comments. Let's see. He is distanced. It is off-putting. He is not a part of the community. He is isolated on purpose. Right. That is totally fine for the character as we're reading it in the book. But he is going to be training these recruits, so he should be connected to him at least in that way, right? Like he may be different or the chosen one, or there's something different about him. He's an astral spy. He's an astral assassin. He's a traveler. He's different. The other kids like mock him and stuff. We're going to get that in different parts of it. But in this context of this sentence, like those new recruits, it's almost like, those new recruits, not these new recruits right here. So the distance that I'm talking about is not like emotional distance as far as like in the context of your story. It's more a distance between the action, if that makes sense. Let's see. And then we have another comment about either way. I'm still taking notes though. You're so sweet. I love you so much. They are all kids. Okay. So they're all kids. So I feel like that needs to be prefaced a little bit sooner then, because whenever we start, it's like Tibor was born and raised in isolation. So born and raised gives the impression that he's older, that he's been raised. If he's a child, he hasn't been raised yet. He's in the process of being raised, right? So Tibor was born in isolation, aboard the new International Space Station. His dream is going to Earth to see all its natural wonders. But first, he wants to be the best astral spy his adoptive father's ever seen. All is good until Tibor is put in charge of testing new recruits from Earth. If he's very young and he's put in charge of testing new recruits, is that a big accomplishment? Because this is a little bit like, all is good. And then he's like, then he has to do this thing. It's a little bit casual. So if this is like a big deal that he's a kid and he's testing new recruits from Earth, like I'd kind of mention that at some point here, all is good until Tibor is the youngest person, in however long or whatever, to be put in charge of testing new recruits from Earth. His ability to induce nightmares starts the rumor of him being the first traveler born in a space lab. And the other, and then I would put, instead of, and the kids mock him as less than human, I would put something like all the other kids, because he's one of them, right? He's a peer. He's around the same age as them. So all the other kids mock him as less than human. And these are very small, tiny changes that just help clarify the beautiful story that you've already written. I just want to, preface that. Like, this is very good. These are very, very specific, tiny things that I'm having to even look at. So you did a very good job. Then here, very easy note, things take the worst turn. Take a turn for the worse is a more common phrase and is a little bit less jarring as far as the rhythm of the sentence goes. So I would just probably just reword that a little bit. Things take a turn for the worse when his adoptive father reveals his real intentions, training Tibor to become an astral assassin. Between dreams and reality, his father's approval is at risk. So here, his motivations are different, right? So he wants nothing more than to go to Earth and see the natural wonders, but he's just got to get this approval first, right? And then his father's approval is at risk here, and that seems really, really important to him. Is his father's approval more important than going to Earth? That's a little bit from the first little paragraph block to this one. I would sort of clarify that motivation a little bit. Then a new task. A non-modified girl with unknown talents has been missing for years. He must find her. With the guidance of new friends, he eventually meets his equal. Then what I would do is I would end that sentence right there. And then this last part of the sentence, I would take out the but at the beginning, and I would put, is this, well, I don't know. Maybe I'd keep the but. Let's see. With the guidance of new friends, he eventually meets his equal, period. But is this person a new friend or his next victim? And I would put that on its own line, because that is a very strong statement right at the end to sort of hook that agent / reader / whoever, right at the end again. But is this person a new friend or his next victim? That's such a strong statement. I don't want it to be on the end of a sentence. It needs to be its own sentence. That's It's a really great statement. But yeah, I think that as far as the blurb goes, you're doing great. I think you've got a great title, great comp, because I know that comp. Your formatting is good. Let's see. That's the grammar. Thank you. Yeah, I figured when I was looking at it, I was like, let me tell her the grammar notes too, if I can. Creative Kickstart campaign. Lauren's doing the stream at the request of the right mama with her event. That is correct. I feel like I've missed a few things. Let's see. Let's go back to the comments now, people, now that I've given some feedback here. Okay. Yeah, yep, they're all kids. It's a long time span story. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's really good, especially if it starts off when he's kids and that's where the motivation starts. I don't think I knew they were kids before. Cool. That adds something more to the story, what I've read at least. Hi, BC, by the way. Hi, it's nice to have you here. Love you. Okay, his father did that testing thing to isolate his son on purpose. Okay. Yes. Hi, Nicole. Thank you so much for being here. CKC is because Jenny, the right mama, she actually requested this stream after the last one because we had a ton of fun because she's doing this event called the Creative Kickstart Camp 2021. And basically, it's just a bunch of different live streams and events and stuff to help us all get our whips in shape for the beginning of 2021 so that we can be the tide that raises all boats and help each other and make 2021 way better than this dumpster fire last year. So that's why we're doing this today. I'm starting to feel what I'm doing is totally out of place. I don't think so at all. I think you have a lot. I mean, I really had to be nitpicky with that now. Like, it's very solid. Very solid. I think you're doing great. And let's see here. Haha, that's fine. I just reached out to people to try and get extra streams and sprints going this week to get us all motivated. Very informal. This is for sure a quiet book. No chosen ones or hero's journey. It's about dysfunctional families and child abuse. That's absolutely fine. I totally get that. There's a chosen one in my series, but you know, needed some more. Let's see this. All right. So here is my email for anybody else who wants advice on anything as far as like editing blurbs or cover copies or anything goes. We were talking about the different types of editing before Dal so graciously sent me her blurb. The next thing that I'd like to talk about, unless anybody has any questions as far as editing goes, which you can put, it's backwards, so I never know how to do this. Wine, these children right now are making me need wine. Okay, so I am revamping my channel because, you know, there was a global pandemic. I don't know if anyone's heard of this past year. And I work full-time in healthcare when I'm not like writing and publishing and stuff and doing my YouTube stuff. So I had all these goals for my channel and I literally did none of them. Like nothing. Like my upload schedule is trash. It's just horrible. So for 2021, I am determined to have a better schedule and more regular content and like all these other things that I'm like super excited about doing. And one of them is I want to start like a monthly live stream where it's basically just like a productivity type of live stream, sort of like when we do the AuthorTube sleepover party on Savvy Writes Books channel on Wednesdays. But I want to call it Wine, like wine, and Wine, where we just complain about all of our writing failures in between trying to like not mess them up and drink. And I think that would be amazing. So anyone who wants to join me for Wine and Wine, I'm going to do that probably this year. Yeah, they like, yeah, work just put out the call for volunteers for people to do voluntary like overtime to do COVID vaccines for patients. And so it's like basically like you work your full day and then they want you to work like a whole another 4 to 6 hours like afterwards, like just doing vaccines. So you know. Oh, thank you, Dal. I'm 100% about it. I'm down for wine and wine. Yes. Okay, so I'm so doing this. I'm so doing this in 2021. Wine and wine. It's gonna be a live stream. You know, hit me up on my socials. They're down below if you want to be on the regular wine and wine stream, whenever that'll be. I'll figure it out later. So back to the editing, because I only have 2 hours this time. I told Abby that I had to be done at a certain time tonight. So we only have about an hour and a half left. We talked about the different types of editing. And I wanted to talk about a couple of different places where you can find quality editors, because this is another big question that I get about editing, right? Where can I find editors? Lots of different places. But are they going to be any good, and are you going to be protected? Are you going to get quality edits? That's something that's always a little bit hinky, right? And especially if you're looking for developmental editors, it can be really pricey, like in the thousands of dollars, because they get paid per word. And usually they're the most expensive type of edits. So I want to talk about a couple of different platforms for beginners to kind of start looking for editors. Now, there's obviously a ton of different resources out there. Like you can go find editors through different Facebook groups and networking with other authors who have self-published and they have recommendations, and people on Twitter, and like you can find editors just about anywhere. But I want to talk about two different services. One is Fiverr and one is Reedsy. Okay, and I want to talk about two things basically, like the pros and cons of each, because I feel like those two are really, I'm rambling because I'm reading the comments while I'm talking and it's distracting me because ADHD. Anyway, so Fiverr and Reedsy. So these are two different places where you can find editors and developmental editors. Now, I know of editors, like I know people who actually are really good editors and they started out on Fiverr. However, there's a few like pros and cons to this. You can find really good editors who are just starting out, meaning they're building their client base. They are getting their testimonials together to be able to like advertise to a larger audience, etc., like through their own websites or different services, or before they hook up with like an indie publisher or whatever. Like you can find really great editors on Fiverr for really inexpensive because they're just starting out. But I know people who have edited on Fiverr, and they have admitted to me that not only are they really underpaid for their services, meaning there's not as much motivation to give a quality product, but even if they go like above and beyond and they don't mind because they're still like building their brand and stuff, it's really hard for both the client, meaning you as the author, and the editor to be protected because there's no like formal contract. So that's something that I don't recommend a lot of the time. So my thing is like, it's a cost versus risk assessment there. You know, I don't normally recommend Fiverr, even though I have friends who are really great editors who started off on Fiverr. I just don't recommend it. There's too many ways that could go wrong for the author who's spending a lot of money, especially if it's developmental edits, and for the editor not getting paid after doing like hundreds of hours of research and work. So not normally my recommended platform. However, I will say this for somebody who's starting out, and these are just starting out things because there's a million different ways you can find editors. But Reedsy Marketplace, you can actually build an author profile. You can start a profile for your book project, which has like your cover copy, maybe your cover if you have it, or a mock-up cover, the rough amount of words that it is. You can put sample chapters up, different stuff like that. So you build a profile for your book, and you go on the marketplace and you search for different editors through Readsy, right? And you use like your genre for your book and, you know, different stuff like that. And it'll bring you up to all of the editors who are accepting projects. They give you credentials for all of the editors, meaning all of their professional experience, all of their like school experience, testimonials, other books that they've edited, so you can see if those titles are comparable to yours. And then what you can do is you can like choose like 3 or 5 of them to basically like bid your project out to. So then you can get prices and turnaround dates and sample edits from 3 to 5 different editors for whatever type of editing you're looking for. And basically, it's almost like a bidding war, but not quite, because I always recommend if you do any professional service whatsoever, you always get at least 3 quotes, at least 3, so that you can find the best bang for your buck, and you can find the person that is going to respond the best to your work. Because you can find an editor who edits in your genre and does comparable titles and stuff, but they just might not respond to your voice in your book, right? Whereas another editor may be like all about it, which was the experience I had when I was publishing Songs of Autumn and getting it ready for publication. I actually found my copy editor through Readsy. Her name was Bethany, and she was fantastic. And the reason that I chose her over a couple of several actually other editors that I was looking for at the time is because she responded to my work. She responded quickly to my work, and she really loved it. Like, you could tell that she had an enthusiasm for the voice and the narrative and the story. And so that's something that I really, really like, is the fact that you can kind of get a bidding war with Readsy. But also, here's what I really love. Readsy, because it is a third-party site, right? There are no like formal contracts, but the editors who sign up and the authors who sign up, because Readsy acts as like a middleman, if there's any issue with getting your edits on time, or if there's any issue with like the quality of your edits, like if you feel like you paid a few $100s for these edits and they're trash, you can actually complain to Readsy and they can help mitigate that for you, maybe get you a partial refund, or, you know, make sure that they're reaching out to the editor and they're resolving things for you. So there's a safety net, I think, with that, that there isn't with Fiverr. So anyway, that is just my recommendations on these 2 platforms for mostly like indie and self-published authors, because again, if you're traditionally publishing, then a lot of times you're going to have like an in-house editor to help you with that. And I see different comments, so we're going to go up there now because I've been talking for a hot second. Wow, that is rough. Our country just put the call for citizen volunteers to do tedious work to free up hospital workers for vaccine administration. Yeah, they're offering like overtime and incentive pay and stuff to do it, but I just don't know if I have the wherewithal after this year to sign up for more stress, if we're being honest. So yeah. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you so much for being here for what you do. Love you. Anyway, that was cheesy. Whatever. This is super helpful because if I go the indie route come March, I will need one more round of edits and I'll have to seek out editors. And I'm honestly terrified. Don't be terrified. Do not be terrified. Any editor worth their salt will offer you a sample edit, and they'll be able to communicate their timeline. They'll be able to talk to you openly and honestly about what you need, what you want out of the interaction. They'll be very communicative the entire way and very supportive. If you don't feel that from an editor, don't hire them. Like, that's what I have to say about that. I go above and beyond to make sure that any of the authors that I work with in my editing business, that they know that they have like 24/7 access to email me, ask questions, all of that. Like, we schedule Skype calls. I make sure that like they're 100% comfortable every step of the way with editing. If they're spending money, I want them to know that like the most important thing to me is making sure that their book is the best that it can be, and that it's in their voice and it's their story, and that they're supported the whole way. And if you don't feel that, don't pay them. You know, I mean, because that's their job, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. But that's, you know what they say about opinions. Hi, Alley Cat. Nice to see you. Ugh, got a running nose. Everybody saying hi to Alley Cat. Speaking of Songs of Autumn, guess what I just got in the mail? You got Songs of Autumn. Oh, I'm so excited. It's so strange to see like all the places that it is now. Like people will send me pictures, like, and it's all over the world, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is really awesome and strange at the same time. What? Let's see. If you enjoy YA fantasy, you're gonna love that book. Y'all, I'm blushing. Goodness gracious. Yes, my book that released November 21st. Been doing actually relatively well as far as like the reviews and stuff, which, you know, I just kind of want to cry about, like, because that's just awesome. Let's see here. All right. Anybody have any specific editing questions or want me to take a look at a cover copy or blurb or anything like that for another live editing session? How do we feel about that, you guys? We did Dow's query letter. I know that I have an updated version of Abby's cover copy for her novel that she's working on to hopefully start querying in July. Yes, sip on my wine. Meanwhile, I feel like all my goals are like way out of reach. But just want to open up the floor for any questions that people have as far as editing. Anyone have questions about editing as far as like money, budgeting for editors, craft a book recommendations? I can do that. Stages of editing, etc., etc., etc. Oh, wine is so good. It is sinful. My husband's such a dweeb. He keeps liking all my tweets and it's giving me notifications on my phone during my stream. He's so cute. So let's see. So we went over a couple of different places where I recommend and don't recommend to find editors. We went over the different types of editing, kind of what they are for, what to expect. We did a query letter edit for Dal. Again, anybody has any questions for editing in general, then you can drop them in the chat. Nothing is too mundane or too crazy, I promise. Let's go over a couple of craft book recommendations while we kind of wait to see what's going on. So I've read quite a few craft books. I don't like a lot of them. Mostly because I don't feel like I get a ton of information from craft books, like helpful information that you can actually put into, you know, practice as far as editing your manuscript goes. One of the ones that I like, especially, again, I'm going to go for like beginners because I don't know, you know, how many of you are published, how many of you watching, you know, are more advanced as far as editing and self-editing your manuscripts goes. But one that I do like is Save the Cat. That's very popular here on AuthorTube. Let me tell you why I love Save the Cat. Save the Cat is all about story structure, which is good for making sure that you have all of the elements that you need for a really concise story. So making sure that you have like a main character with flaws, who overcomes the flaws, who has obstacles, that has a lot of up and down, that you are able to like write in a good B story, like things like that. So it's a really good tool for beginners to just read about story structure in a way that's really understandable. on a mass scale so that you can basically just like look at your story and say, hey, I see that there's an element that's missing or not missing. Now, let me tell you what I don't like about Save the Cat. Save the Cat is overhyped and it's generalized a lot of things. So it's not specific enough for certain genres and subgenres, which can lead to people trying to like take out plot elements that maybe make their books kind of special. So again, I think this is a really good book for beginners to start learning about story structure, but I would say just for beginners and that you should continue reading. Another craft book that I would recommend from an editing perspective is Self-Editing for Fiction Writers. This is co-authored. There's 2 authors to that book, and I really do like that one a lot, mostly because it's very informative and helpful, but the writers don't talk down to you. They just like talk to you like throughout the book. So it feels really accessible and very casual, and it doesn't feel like you're doing everything wrong. It feels like, hey, here's some things that you can do a little better. You know, here's some tips and tricks. Here's the hot take. And so that's a reason that I like that book, because it has a lot of really good, useful information, but it's given to the audience in such a way that they can digest it. Let's say, oh Lord, I knew Save the Cat was going to be controversial. I don't like Save the Cat. Save the Cat is too generic for many genres. Yes, it's okay for bare minimum idea of what to do, but it isn't the whole picture. Absolutely. That's exactly what I was saying. I like recommending it again for beginners, basic story structure technique. Obviously, once you master basic story structure technique, you know, it's like you build from there, right? It's like you go to English class and you learn about sentence structure for the first time. It's like object, subject, verb, and that's it, you know, and then and then you build from that, right? And so that's kind of what I like Save the Cat for, is learning the basics of story structure so that you can identify where you have strengths and weaknesses, and then growing and building from there, you know, because that's always really important. There you go. It's very generalized and formulaic. Yes, I'm over here with a dual POV paranormal sci-fi that's a quiet book a la literary. Couldn't learn anything from Save the Cat. Yes, a lot of very niche genres are not really included, especially in their like story breakdowns and stuff in the book. But again, basics of story structure, I think that they're really good at that, and then building from there. And then Self-Editing for Fiction Writers, I think is a really good book to help clean up your manuscript before you send to editors. And again, I think that the tone of it is very good. It's not talking down to you. It's talking to you about, you know, things that we can do as authors to like, you know, save money, because like I said earlier in the stream, if you weren't here for it, editors are charged per word. So if you're cutting out filler words, unnecessary characters, unnecessary plot points, adverbs that aren't necessary, then guess what you're doing? If you're really tightening up your narrative, you're getting that word count down and it's not overly inflated with things that are not important that the editor shouldn't worry about, and you end up saving money in the long run too. Or you can afford a better quality editor. Either way. So those are a couple of book recommendations that I had. Also, Stein on writing. Do you mean Stephen King on writing? Seriously, the best craft book I've ever read. I haven't read that. I have read Stephen King's On Writing, and that's more of a memoir, and I would not recommend it. If you're looking for a craft book, that ain't it. Not the one Dal I think is talking about, but Stephen King On Writing is a memoir. It is a memoir, not a writing craft book. If you are looking for useful information about the craft of writing, it is not that one. Might be this one, though. I'm going to check this one out. The Dal recommended. I'm going to check it out. If I like it, I'll recommend it to you, too. Sasha Black has a craft book that is actually very good, The Anatomy of Prose. Yeah, Dal, I don't like Stephen King's on writing. Nope. Yeah, everyone's like, oh, Stephen King on writing. And I'm like, this is like a memoir. This is an autobiography. This is not a craft book. What is this? Okay, I'm gonna write that down actually, and I'm gonna look that one up. I haven't read Stein on writing. I read King's on writing. Yeah. Yes, it is not a craft book. It is a memoir. It is a good read for writers. It is a great read if you want to see how a really famous writer became a really famous writer and about his life. And it's very interesting. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not like a bad book. It's just not a craft book. And I see so many people recommending it as a craft book, and like it has nothing in it about the writing craft. Like there's no usable information to glean to help your own writing. Like it's literally a memoir. Sasha Black has a great craft book, The Anatomy of Prose. Literally what I was about to say. So Sasha Black actually has several craft books. She also has a Facebook group called Rebel Authors, which I'm a part of, where she does like weekly, basically posts, and they're like productivity posts, right? So you say like, I'm going to accomplish these things this week. And then like at the end of the week, you have to say like what you accomplished and what you didn't accomplish, which, you know, motivates you to try and do all the things that you said you were going to do. So that's really cool. The Anatomy of Prose is really great. She also has a really great book about writing villains, which I think is really amazing. I think that writing villains is a very underrated art form these days, and so I really love her book on writing villains. But also, The Anatomy of Prose is really solid, really solid. I would recommend Sasha Black's book to anyone. That is literally one of my other recommendations on my list. I loved King's on writing in high school, and I'm listening to it again on Audible, and I feel like I must have really been skimming it or something because it's definitely not a craft book. I'm pissed, honestly. Haha. Yeah, you wasted an Audible credit on a non-craft book. Just saying. Like, I don't know how people. I don't know how they recommend this book as a craft book. It is clearly not a craft book. I actually have a list of like 45 or something different craft books for every kind of author. The fantasy writer, the non-visual writer, the ones who are writing nonfiction, yada yada, etc., etc. And I'm actually planning on making a really big video. I was gonna do it for before NaNoWriMo this year, but you know, COVID and my channel, and I didn't have a camera. So it didn't happen, but I have it scripted and have all the links, and all of that will be happening at some point in the future. So if you want like the giant ass list of craft books, that video is coming in the future on my channel. But the ones that I recommend are the ones that I said: Save the Cat for basic story structure, self-editing for fiction writers to help clean up your manuscript, and then really any craft book written by Sasha Black, but The Anatomy of Prose and her one on writing villains, they're both really good. I would recommend either of those. They're really, really good. So we went over where to find editors. We went over the different types of editing, craft book recommendations. We did Dallas query. Drinking some more wine. Oh, also, another fun fact for anyone who has actually like watched my channel a lot, which several people have, and like I'm not aware of it. Like I'm just not aware of it. I just put these videos up because I just enjoy it, and I don't really have a concept for the fact that they're out in the world and that people watch me ramble in my YouTube videos on my channel. But one of my most viewed videos ever is one of my first ones that I ever made on AuthorTube about a year ago, and I was drinking out of a wine glass that had a hand-painted rainbow shrimp on it, the rainbow shrimp wine glass, and people ask me about it all the time. I'm not currently drinking out of it, clearly. And people have asked me like lately, like, why, you know, where's the rainbow shrimp wine glass? Like whenever I have a glass of wine on, you know, stream or whatever. And the answer is it has a chip in the rim. and I don't want to cut my lip. So I have not been drinking out of it. But the girl who actually painted it, I saw her today at work. She's a coworker, and I asked her to make me a few of them, not just one, but a few of them. And so I think at a later point this year, like if I hit a milestone, I'll do a giveaway with a hand-painted rainbow shrimp wine glass. That's something that I literally just thought of today because I ran into her at work. And I thought that was really fun. And especially if I do wine and wine, like that could be really fun. Like give away a wine glass to somebody. But anyway, I digress. That's not editing related. And we only have like an hour and 5-ish minutes left. So any questions? Does anyone want to send me over? Here's my email for anybody. If you want to send me over a blurb or, you know, first paragraph of your whip or something that you just want, you know, an outside perspective on or a keen editing eye on, just let me know. I do have another cover copy to live edit. It's one that was reworked from last time. So the last stream that I did, my friend Abby had just finished her first draft of an adult fantasy novel called A Shield of Stars. And she wrote her very first ever attempt at a cover copy. And she was horrified whenever I did a live edit of it on my channel because, like a lot of fantasy writers, she had put a lot of backstory and cultural details and geographic details in the original cover copy because fantasy writers, they make their own world up. And so they feel like it is super important in a cover copy to like give context for every single thing. And basically during my edit, I was kind of saying like, fantasy writers fall prey to this all the time. Like this was a huge hang up for me before I realized like how to write, you know, effective, engaging like cover copies and stuff, was the fact that they don't need context for everything. They don't need to know like geographic locations or names of secret societies or priest orders or priestess orders or gods and dragons and demons and stuff. Like we don't need to know most of any of that. We need to know the stakes of the story. You know, we need to know why do we care. And that's sort of the crux of writing cover copy, right? Is you need to get to the point and get to it quick. You need to tell the readers why they should care enough to buy your book. Like that's basically what a cover copy is. And so she took my notes from that stream, texted me a lot about how much she hated her cover copy, which I told her it was actually a very good first attempt. If she had read my first attempt at a cover copy, she would have laughed her butt off. And then she revamped it and she sent me her new one. And so we have the new cover copy today to do like a live edit of or to kind of look at. So we can definitely do that. I don't feel confident about sending an opening paragraph for that same novel. So let's wait for others to send you stuff. That's fair. That is very fair. I sent an opening paragraph of a novel that I literally only written 3 paragraphs of to somebody. And they picked it apart and I was just like, man, I haven't even written a whole draft. I've only written 3 paragraphs and I got to go and fix it now. So I totally get it. Totally get it. Oh yeah, writing fantasy has its own set of rules that can be strange sometimes. Yes, that is very, very true. Whenever you build this really big world, you know, you take all these things into consideration, you know, classism, whether or not that exists, the hierarchy of the world. Then you think religion, you think politics, you think geography, you think just all kinds of different things that you're creating out of nothing in fantasy. And so whenever you're writing like cover copies and things that are supposed to be more like succinct and more like marketing wise, like you can spend 200,000 words if you want, like explaining in detail the backstories of all of the religions and all of the whatever that you've created. And we're going to be fascinated, you know, if that's the genre that we like to read in as readers. But to get somebody to look at a cover, read the Amazon description or the back of the cover and convert that initial interest into a sale. Like you need to get to the heart of the story right in that cover copy right away. And so that's kind of, I think, why a lot of authors have issues with writing cover copies, is because they tend to want to wax poetic and explain everything, right? Which is natural. Like, of course we do. But it's pretty much the total antithesis of a cover copy, you know, because you're supposed to get to the point really quickly and engage readers really quickly, and then like leave them wanting just enough more that they want to buy your book. So yeah, let's say I'm going to pull up Abby's new and improved cover copy. So this is after my first round of notes. And I only read the very first line and I'm already stoked. I don't think I'm going to have many notes because like it's amazing already. For real. Let's see. Bum-ba-da-da. Share. All right. So ideally a cover copy is no more than 200, maximum 250 words, so that it can fit comfortably on the back cover in an aesthetically pleasing way. Any good cover artist worth their salt will tell you that. Let's go ahead and read Abby's cover copy. I'm excited. I'm excited. Okay. First line, amazing. Liana's mother is dead. She's dead. That's so good. It's so good. Immediately the stakes are clear. It's like, whoa, this chick's mom is dead. Okay, Liana's mother is dead. When the news arrives on the day of Liana's induction as High Priestess, the young woman faces a choice: remain on the island and carry out her duties as a priestess, or leave and uncover what happened. So good. So good. So good. This is so much better. I'm so excited. Liana escapes moments before the ceremony. On her journey, she meets a young man who offers her relative safety on her quest for the truth. Penn is attractive, charming, and not who he says he is. He's a temptation, one that Liana can't resist. Penn blurs the lines between what Liana wants for herself and what the goddess wants for her. Together, they brave the dangers of the northern country and of their hearts. I want this book. This is so much better. This is literally night and day. Like, I almost wish I had the original cover copy to read to show you as a comparison, but I don't because she deleted it. This is so much better. So immediately with the first line, you're hooked. Liana's mother is dead. That stakes clear right from the back. Then this next portion right here. So when the news arrives on the day of Liana's induction as High Priestess, so we know it's a really important day, and she finds out her mom is dead. So we already know high tension, high stakes. The young woman faces a choice. And so this is what's really engaging here, because it's right at the end. Here's the choice. Here's the choice that she has: remain on the island and carry out her duties as priestess, or leave and uncover what happened. So clearly we know that she's going to leave, but that it's hard for her, right? Like, we know this because of the choices that are presented here, and the fact that it's like a big deal. You know, are there a few little things that I might do as far as like word choice, repetition, etc. throughout this? Yes, but this is like literally so good. Liana escapes moments before the ceremony. So we also know high tension, high stakes, things are happening. On her journey, she meets a young man who offers her relative safety on her quest for the truth. Penn is attractive, charming, and not who he says he is. So I may probably say that one of the things here is like Penn is now just being introduced. I would lean into the not who he says he is mystery aspect just a little bit before you go into the next line, if that's at all possible, just because you want to sort of leave readers like with the question of like, oh, okay, like not who he says he is, like what does that mean, kind of thing. It's only hinted at here, but I would lean into it a little bit more. He's a temptation, one that Liana can't resist. Already, I feel like there's heat. Love it. Penn blurs the lines between, this is the line This is the line that I love in this one. Okay. Pen blurs the lines between what Liana wants for herself and what the goddess wants for her. That is some delicious stakes and shifting motivations from the very beginning of this cover copy already. That is amazing. Together they brave the dangers of the northern country and of their hearts. I would absolutely buy this book. I'd absolutely buy this book. Again, few little tweaks that I would make, leaning into Penn's mystery a little bit. I would probably rework the last line to make it a little bit punchier. A few little things as far as like word repetition, comma placements, things like that, because, you know, there are certain places where you want shorter, more punctuated sentences, and other places where you may want longer, looser sentence structure for rhythm and flow. But really freaking solid. I would have to get so nitpicky with this, like we wouldn't even have the time, because I would just, I just love cover copies. Anyway, so this is after one note session, and she's just got a lot of good stuff happening. Really excited about that. Really excited about that cover copy. Tell me how your cover copies are going. We have a little bit of time left. Let me know if anybody else wants something they want me to look at, something that needs actual work, Abby, unlike yours. I mean, like, literally night and day. Night and day. Have allergies. All right, so this stream, we went over the different types of editing. We went over some craft book recommendations. We did live edit of Dallas Query Letter and the A Shield of Stars cover copy from the talented Abby Smith. We went over a couple of places to find editors. Those are basically two services that I talked about to find editors and what I liked and didn't like about them. I will say there's a ton of other places you can find editors. I'm friends with editors on Twitter. We can network. You can network with people through Facebook groups, author groups. You can, if you network with other indie authors who are in your genre, you can see who edited their novels. Popular novels in your genre that are also indie or even traditionally published or whatever. You can actually look normally in the acknowledgement section to see who edited their novels. And you can normally go on their websites to see what their services are and whether or not they're accepting outside submissions or they only work with like publishing houses. But that's another way that you can find editors. A lot of times I find different editors through like word of mouth advertising. And then the two different platforms that I talked about, Fiverr and Readsy, and their pros and cons and which one I liked and which one I didn't like and for what reason. So those were a few things about where to find editors. We did a little bit of a Q&A session. And I really feel like this stream is winding down a lot earlier than I expected it to. But that's fine because this is a weeknight and I was only going to be on stream for 2 hours. We've been going about an hour so far. And I don't see that there's a lot of people who are like wanting me to look over stuff or having a ton of questions, which is totally fine. It's a weeknight. I feel like a lot of people are in bed. I'm really, really grateful for Jenny, the right mama, who asked me to do this editing live stream. I hope that any of you who are watching this on replay or who are here in the chat, that you found some value in some of the stuff that we've been talking about today. Oh, yeah. I'm being reminded that I need to plug my own stuff. I hate doing that. So yes, so I actually do offer editing services through my website, which is laurensevier.com. Let's see, got some stuff here. So here is my website for editing services. It would be really cool if you remember to like the stream, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel, ring the bell to get notified of live streams and video uploads. I'm planning to do a lot more in the upcoming year because, you know, 2020, I work in cardiology and there was a global pandemic. And so my channel was on the back burner. but now I feel like I can actually get back to some regular content and stuff. A lot of really fun stuff I plan on doing in the future. My young adult fantasy novel, Songs of Autumn, is platform-wide. It is on Audible now, which is really cool. And it is pretty much anywhere books are sold in every version, paperback, hardcover, and ebook. Yeah, and it would just be really cool if you joined the family, if you decided to come along on the ride. Let me know if you have any questions or anything as far as editing goes. Oh yeah, all my socials are in my link tree down below. I keep getting reminded to say stuff because I'm not good at this bit. Let's see. Oh, Dow, you're so sweet. Dow says this was very helpful. I love Dow. All right, everybody. So I'm actually going to end this stream early, mostly because I want to finish this glass of wine that I've been nursing for like an hour. And it is a weeknight, you know, so I was thinking 2 hours would be good, but we kind of wound down a little bit earlier than that. And I'm totally okay with that because I'm tired. I'm a toddler mom and I work full time in cardiology and I need to do developmental edits for a client tonight before bed. So I'm out, you guys. Y'all have a great night. Thank you again for me being part of this event. I hope you had fun. Good night.